One of the most important things we try to impart to all of our students and alumni is that you have to own your own career. Nobody is going to care about your career success more than you are. Human resources doesn't have the time and energy, and neither does your manager. So it becomes really important for people to proactively manage their careers. And that becomes even more important today because it's very rare that anyone's going to work for one company any longer today. In fact, Forrester Research estimates the average person will have 12 to 15 different jobs over the duration of their career. And many people are going to pivot, sometimes starting in corporate, moving into entrepreneurship, maybe even to nonprofit. And so our mission at the Career Management Center is not just to help students or alumni find their next job, but to really give them the tools, the knowledge, and the resources to manage their careers for their lifetime, not just about how they're going to find their next job.
In the context of the full-time students, that's a really intense process. So they have an opportunity to practice those job search skill sets, both in an internship job search and a full-time job search. That creates an opportunity to practice in a safe environment, but also to really build their skill set and also resiliency as they go through that kind of intense process. Owning your own job search is really the start of owning your own career. One of the things that we see is that our high performers in the job search process, they think deeply about where they want to go, they do self-assessment, and they react to the marketplace. They take the cues from the marketplace to set a plan moving forward. They're firm in their destination, but they're flexible in their path. They may find additional opportunities or new interests, and they're open to that exploration. How do you think about it in the context of evening and weekend and our executive MBA students?
In terms of evening, weekend, and EMBA, self-reflection is critical. It's critical for everybody. You know, and as Ben Franklin stated, there are three things really hard in life: steal, a diamond, and to know oneself. So this is not easy. We recognize and acknowledge this process of self-assessment, self-reflection is not easy. But the dividends it pays throughout one's career are everlasting. And so I always encourage students that I work with to think about self-reflection, do either simple reflection exercises or do something that's more intense like a 360 to gain feedback from anonymous subordinates, peers, or supervisors. Because at the end of the day, this is not just, as Matthew said and as Liza said, it's not just about a job. This is really about one's career. Find what energizes you. Find what dissipates your energy. Understand where you excel and what your strengths are, and focus on those. But that process all requires self-reflection. And so as you move through your career, it's really important that you take that time to self-reflect. It's about what's the next job and how does that set me up for the next role and for the next role after that and for the next role after that. So as one takes this long view, that's when really true insight and ownership can really take place. And an element of that, I think, is resilience.
Absolutely. It's one of the keys to owning your own career. That resiliency. We know in the course of somebody's career, there are going to be disappointments, there's going to be high points and low points. Some of those you're going to control, some of those are completely out of your control. Learning how to move through that stage quickly, to reframe the situation into a way that gives you positive momentum and moving forward is kind of the key to that success. So if you don't get the interview that you want, if you don't get the job that you want, or your startup loses funding, whatever it is that you would put in the context of failure, it's really important to figure out, how do I move from stagnation to forward momentum in a quick period? How do I reduce the morning time so that I can move forward? I think that there are three questions that everybody can be asking themselves at that time. One, what did I learn from the experience? Two, what would I do differently next time? And three, how does this experience inform my next steps? How does it help me develop a plan for the next step? I think if you reframe that into a learning experience, if you reframe that perceived negative experience into a learning experience, you're able to move forward in a very positive way, quickly.
In addition to resiliency, career agility is also another big factor that people have to keep in mind. Adnan, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Agility is so important in today's workplace. Previous generations that were in the workforce stayed at a company for 20 to 30 years, had very linear progressions. That just doesn't exist anymore. We have all sorts of dislocations. The 2008 financial meltdown, M&A activity happens all over the place, and disruptive technologies can literally alter an industry overnight.
I think what you're saying is that the jobs that are going to exist in 10 years may not exist today.
Right.
So we're talking about looking around the corner and developing a skill set that is agile and nimble, and also the job search skill set that's going to be able to take somebody there.
What one needs to be thinking about as they move through their career is how do you continue to grow and gain those skills and competencies that allow you to be agile, to move to point A to point B, and maybe even to point C as you go through your entire career. The important thing is to have a growth mindset, being open to gaining new experiences, gaining new competencies. What you need to do as an individual is recognize where you are and what is it that you need to gain to continue to grow.
Too often what I see with a lot of alumni is they might be getting into a new job, they put their head down and they really focus on it, and they may not think about their network. And suddenly something changes and they're in a job search and they've got to say, start networking now, but it's too late. You've got to build and you've got to maintain that network throughout your lifetime, not just when you're in a job search. There's so many things we don't have control over. We don't have control over necessarily what happens with our company or what happens with the economy. One of the few things we do have control over is our network, and that's something you've got to build and maintain throughout your lifetime.
And nurture it.
And nurture it as well.
Long-term relationship building, what does that mean? It could be daily, it could be weekly, it could be monthly, it could be yearly connections, whatever works within that relationship. But it's there for mutual benefit, and it's not just a one-way street.
And I'll say that a lot of times with alumni, the best job search out there is when you're not even looking for a job and someone comes to you with a job. But that doesn't just happen. That happened because you built and you maintained that network, and then someone came to you.
Right. Exactly.
It's leveraging people that they have met or that network that they had in place or that they cultivated over time. Those jobs have a tendency to appear or are developed through those relationships.
Particularly as one becomes more senior.
Yes.
It's those relationships that build new opportunities for individuals.
And the one other thing we'll often mention about networking is there's a certain serendipity that happens in networking. And a lot of times someone may go into a networking meeting with tunnel vision. I'm trying to find my next job. But you never know where that networking meeting is going to go. It could be your next job. It could be your job 2 jobs down the road. It could be a friend. It could be a colleague. It could be a customer. It could be someone who funds your startup 5 years down the road. Right. And so you really want to go into that with a very open mind versus narrow tunnel vision.
It comes back to that student you referenced about how to think about open doors.
Right.
And this whole relationship arena is about opening doors and keeping those doors open.
Being open to those conversations.
Right.
So we've had this deep discussion today about what it is to own your own career. So to expand on these thoughts, we've also brought in some key Kellogg faculty to give their perspective on owning your own career as well. We think about this in career services and career management. We think about these topics all the time. All 3 of us have teams of coaches who are prepared to help students and alumni for the course of their career